स्थिते मनसि शुष्पस्ते शरीरे सतियो नरः धातु साम्ये स्थिते स्मर्ता विश्वरूपं च मामजम् ततस्तं म्रियमाणं तु काष्ठपाषाण सन्निभम् अहं स्मरामि मद्भक्तं नयामि परमां गतिम् कपिलस्तत्त्व संख्याता भगवान् आत्ममायया जातः अयं साक्षात् स्वयं जातः आत्म प्रज्ञप्तये नृणाम्. There is something special about the third skanda. Two very important avatars are covered, and it is also interesting to see the sequence of how these avatars are covered. As part of the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya, first Maitreya covers the glorious Varaha Avatara. Last week, we relished the very first avatara of this current kalpa, Shweta Varaha Kalpa. We relished the glorious Varaha Avatara, where Bhagavan, assuming a very unique form, an unimaginable form, a gloriously beautiful form, appropriate to the context of the avatara. We relish how Bhagavan, assuming the form of a Varaha, resurrected Mother Earth, and how he set the order, and how he enabled Mother Earth to be suitable for habitation. After covering Varaha Avatara, Kapila Avatara happens to be the topic of discussion between Maitreya and Vidura. While in the case of Varaha Avatara, the purpose was to set the order. And as we see in the popularly celebrated Varaha Charma Shloka, Bhagavan declares, Sthite manasi shushvaste sharire satiyo naraha dhatu samye sthite smarta vishwarupam cha mabhajam. When one is endowed with faculties which are in perfect condition, so we are all blessed to be human beings, endowed with some very special faculties. Over and above the physical body, we have the mind and the intellect. And when all the faculties are in perfect condition, working properly, Bhagavan declares, when one meditates on me, surrenders to me, knowing my true nature, knowing who I am, knowing my true nature, realizing my true nature, when one surrenders to me, then I shall take care of remembering such a bhakta during the last moments. So having made the declaration, now in the next avatara that is going to be covered, Bhagavan himself shows the path as to how to realize him and stay connected with him and meditate on him. Kapilaha Tattva Sankhyata. Tattva Sankhyata. Kapila is called as one who is the enumerator of Tattva, ultimate reality. Jataha, he takes birth, even though Swayam Sakshat Ajaha, he is Ajaha, Ajayamano Bhuda Vijayate. Even though he is unborn, he takes birth for only one reason, Atma Pragyaptyaye Ram, in order to disseminate transcendental knowledge. Sankhya. Sankhya means counting. Sankhya is the philosophy of counting. Counting what? Counting the tattvas. We have this phrase in English, counting oneself out. I count myself out. When I'm called for a party, I say, I have to say, if there's satsang, I say, I count myself out of party. I don't know how many say that, but ideally we expect one to say that. Counting myself out. So Sankhya philosophy is counting oneself, enabling one to count oneself out of material existence. Through the process of counting the tattvas, which means analyzing one's material existence, deconstruction and demystification of matter, of worldly objects, in order to realize truth. Because this world of material objects is so very alluring, we get carried away without realizing the reality. Human body looks very beautiful, very alluring. But once we realize this is nothing but a bunch of molecules that have been put together, when we deconstruct and demystify every worldly object, then that completely demolishes our allurement to these worldly objects. So therefore, Sankhya philosophy is all about demystifying this world, analyzing, ability to analyze worldly existence in order to understand our misidentification, knowing our true identity, non-material identity, spiritual identity. Sankhya philosophy helps us to redirect ourselves towards Bhagavan. Now, this Sankhya philosophy of Kapila should not be misunderstood. This Kapila is the avatara of Bhagavan. There is another Kapila who came later, and the Sankhya philosophy that is known by his name is Nirishwara Sankhya philosophy, where that Kapila only discussed about the two tattvas, Purusha and Prakriti. Kapilacharya, here the Kapila Avatara, brings in all the three tattvas, and Kapila shows the path to realize Bhagavan. Therefore, this philosophy of Sankhya is so very important. So when we put both these avatars together, then we see how beautifully the sequencing takes place in the conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. Maitreya, now, after describing the glorious Varahavatara that happened right at the beginning of the Kalpa, also happens to talk about another Varahavatara. Now, this is where many a times we also get confused. Namo namaste akila yajnata tanvate stitau grihita amala sattva. All the devas are begin to pray to the Varahavatara, Maitreya says. Now, this Varahavatara is after Varaha eradicates the Rakshasa called Hiranyaksha. Dishtya hato ayam jagatamuruntatah tatpada bhaktya ayamisha nirdhataha. Now, one may get confused. Is this the same Varaha, or is it a different Varaha? Maitreya, in his conversation with Vidura, talks about the Leela of Bhagavan, of Leela of resurrecting Mother Earth right at the beginning of the Kalpa, and also his Leela of vanquishing Hiranyaksha. We need to understand that these two avatars happened in different Manvantaras. In Shvetavaraha Kalpa, right at the beginning, Swayambhuva Manvantara, even before Srishti started, Vyashti Srishti started, when Brahma was wondering what could be the place, the earth is not yet ready for habitation. That is when the first Varaha Avatara happened. And the form being Shweta Varaha, the Kalpa also came to be known as Shweta Varaha Kalpa. Later on, in Chakusha Manvantara, once again Bhagavan assumes the form of Varaha for another reason. The first time it is to resurrect Mother Earth from the deluge of cosmic waters. This is what we relished last week. How as Varaha, as Yajna Varaha, Bhagavan resurrected Mother Earth from cosmic waters just after Pralaya. Now this time the earth is also in deluge in Chakshusha Manvantara, but it is in deluge of adharma. It is in deluge of ignorance. And who is this Hiranyaksha? And why did Bhagavan take this avatara again to eradicate him? This is where Maitreya recounts all the events that transpired, where he talks about, after having discussed the beginning of creation, the creation of all kinds of living species right at the beginning of the Kalpa during Swayambhuva Manvantara, then Maitreya recounts the legend of the Sanat Kumaras trying to visit Vaikuntha. And the Sanat Kumaras are stopped right at the entry by none other than the gatekeepers, Jaya and Vijaya. Sanat Kumaras are not allowed entry, and frustrated Sanat Kumaras curse the Jaya Vijayas. They curse them that they shall take birth as ordinary mortals on earth. And right at the very time, Bhagavan appears, and then he gives Jaya and Vijaya two choices. The choice of taking 7 consecutive births as great devotees of Bhagavan, and then eventually reaching him, coming back to him again. Or the choice of only 3 births, but as staunch enemies of Bhagavan. A tough choice to be made. But Jaya and Vijaya decide to take the second option. Why? It only involves taking 3 births, even though they have to take birth as staunch enemies of Bhagavan. So having made the choice, we see how in 3 different yugas, they take birth as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, Ravana and Kumbhakarna, Shishupala and Dantavakra. Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha in Chakshusha Manvantara, in Satya Yuga, as sons of Diti, wife of Kashyapa. As sons of Diti, they take birth. Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha, Aksha, if Hiranya is golden. No, Hiranyaksha should not be understood as somebody with beautiful eyes. Here, Hiranyaksha is somebody whose eyes is fixed on gold. Gold here stands for the 3 P's: power, position, possession. So Hiranyaksha stands for greed. He was an embodiment of greed. That is why here the Devas are celebrating the avatar of Varaha again. Namo Namaste Akila Yajna Tantave. Akila Yajna Tantave. Yajna Varaha. Varaha is not an ordinary Varaha, Yajna Varaha. He is the very embodiment of Yajna. Yajna here, we saw Yajna, any action that is done for welfare of others is Yajna. Also, Yajna is where the rewards, he is Yajna Tantave, they say. Sarva Yajna Tantave, which means all the rewards of Yajna performed can only be enjoyed by one person, Bhagavan. Now, taking this, not just Yajna that is performed as based on the Vedic scriptures, any action that is performed as Yajna, the rewards belong only to him. Which means our success is not our success. Every Yajna that we perform, we are supposed to be performing every action as Yajna. Our duty is a duty only if it is performed as Yajna. The rewards of Yajna that is performed belong only to him. And if it pleases him, he may bestow his blessings on us. So therefore, yajna here has to be understood where actions that are performed, the enjoyer, the ultimate enjoyer is only Bhagavan. That is why all the devas who are celebrating this Varaha Avatara are celebrating Mass Akila Yajna Tanthave Stitau Grihita Amala Sattva Murtaye. You have assumed Amala Sattva Murtaye, a Shuddha Sattva form. Even though the form looks very unique, Varaha-like, the Varaha form, it is a form, transcendental nature. Shuddha Sattva Murtaye, a form which is transcendental. And why did you take this form? Dishtya hato ayam jagatamaruntudaha. Dishtya hato ayam. This, in order to eradicate this jagatamaruntudaha, the one who is a tormentor of Mother Earth. You know, Hiranyaksha, while Yajna is contributory selfless work, Hiranyaksha stands for embodiment of greed. Greed is opposite of Yajna. Greed is exactly opposite of Yajna, where one tries to possess not only all the resources, but possess the outcomes as well. And here, Hiranyaksha wanted to possess everything, including earth. And therefore, he was a tormentor to every living being, to every entity. And he was the greatest tormentor to Mother Earth. And Bhagavan took the assumed avatar form of Varaha and encountering Hiranyaksha, eradicated him and once again saved Mother Earth from the deluge of adharma, from the deluge of ignorance. And therefore, when Hiranyaksha was killed by Varaha, all the devatas were celebrating. Namo 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 Namaste Akila Yajna Tanvate Stitau Grihita Amala Sattva Murtaye Dishtyahato Yam Jagata Murundutaha Pada Bhaktya Apayam Iti Nivritaha. Now, by devoting ourselves to your lotus feet, we are attaining everlasting happiness. Nirvritaha. We have attained that supreme state of happiness. Why? Now we are secure. Realizing that our security is being taken care of by you. Yoga Kshema Mahamyam, Krishna declares. So our yoga and Kshema are taken care of by you, so we don't need to be worried. We don't need to be concerned about anything else, and therefore we are very, very happy, they say. Then Maitreya summarizes this second Varaha Avatara. This second Varaha Avatara that happened in Chakshusa Manvantara. He says, Hevam Hiranyakshamasahya Vikramam. Having defeated and killed Hiranyaksha, Sadayitya Harit Adi Sukaraha, he says. Now we understand he is Adi Sukaraha. Therefore, Sukara, which is also the animal which is boar, is also referred to as Sukara. All the boars are blessed to have been bestowed the form of Varaha. This is the way we need to understand. It is not that Bhagavan took the form of a boar. The animal called boar that we all now relate to is so very blessed because he is Adi Sukaraha. This form emanated from him. He is Adi Sukaraha. Jagamalokam Swayam Akanditotsavam. It seems after accomplishing that mission, Varaha Bhagavan then went back to where? To his abode, where his abode, Akanditotsavam, where it is celebration every day, eternal celebration that keeps happening all the time. Vaikuntha is a land of everlasting bliss, where there is only celebration. Celebration of the glories of Bhagavan. Samditaha Pushkara Vistaradivihi. All the devas led by Brahma are so very pleased that Hiranyaksha has been eradicated and Mother Earth is rescued once again. Now, this concludes the first avatara that is covered within Tritiya Skanda, which is the avatara of Varaha. Then Maitreya further goes on to talk about the lineage of Swayambhuva Manu. Swayambhuva Manu has two sons, Uttanapada and Priyamvrata. Now, and also one daughter, Devahuti. The Swayambhuva Manu now has to look at how to find a suitable groom for Devahuti. That is where Bhagavan then appears in front of Kartama Prajapati. Kartama Prajapati in his prayers is blessed. Bhagavan says, soon Swayambhuva Manu will approach you and offer the hand of his daughter Devahuti to you. This is indeed going to be a sacred union between you and Devahuti, which is going to be a cause for my next avatara as well. So therefore, be prepared to receive Swayambhuva Manu. And as Bhagavan prophesied, Swayambhuva Manu approaches Kartama Prajapati and offers Devahuti. And the first Vaidika Vivaha that we all know of possibly is the Vivaha between Kartama Prajapati and Devahuti. Both of them mate for each other and they get married, and their Vivaha itself is a yajna. A yajna in order to be an instrument to bring Bhagavan once again, so that once again he can take avatara as Kapila. 9 daughters. They are blessed with 9 daughters, Kardama and Devahuti. Kardama, with his yogic powers, he creates an aerial vehicle, an ornate aerial vehicle with all kinds of luxuries, and together they decide to journey around, enjoying the life of a grihastha. Both Kardama Prajapati and Devahuti spend years immersed in enjoying the life, a householder's life together, and they are blessed with 9 daughters. Several years pass by. They continue to keep enjoying married life in the company of each other. They almost forget everything else outside of that small world that they themselves have created for themselves. After several years, finally it dawns. Devahuti realizes that time has now come to actually wake up from slumber. So many years have passed by, and suddenly Devahuti realizes that she is sooner or later going to face reality, because she knows Kartama Prajapati is going to be there with her only for some time. This was the deal. And sooner or later, he is going to walk away. And she then has to face the world. Now Devahuti is deeply concerned. Who will give her the solace once Kartama Prajapati leaves her? Then she realizes this world is temporary. All the enjoyments, everything that she has been experiencing so far are all temporary, and sooner or later she has to face reality. And therefore she approaches Kardama and she says, Sarvam tad Bhagavan Mahyam Upovaha Pratishritam. Hey Bhagavan, so far you have fulfilled all my desires. You have taken care of me very well. And together we have been enjoying worldly life. We have been blessed with 9 daughters. We have had a great time together as husband and wife. But all of a sudden I realized a great lack. There is that sense of incompleteness in me. We have all the luxuries, everything with your yogic powers. You have created everything that we want, all kinds of opulences, all kinds of luxuries. Together we have enjoyed life so much. In spite of that, there seems to be a sense of lack within me, a sense of incompleteness within me. Now, this is what every householder goes through. At some stage in life, all of a sudden reality strikes. With all the accomplishments, so-called material accomplishments, one starts to suddenly experience that sense of incompleteness in life. All accomplishments, material accomplishments, no longer are meaningful anymore. Devahuti is now really concerned. Athapi me prapannaya abhayam datum arhasi, she says. Now you have fulfilled all my desires. You have taken care of me very well, but there is one thing which you have still not addressed, hey Kardama, and I know sooner or later you are going to walk away. There is one thing which you have not addressed. Kardama says, what is that? She says, fearlessness. You have still not made me fearless. There is that underlying fear in me all the time. In spite of spending all this glorious time enjoying life, enjoying all the material pleasures, I'm gripped with this fear which is inflicted by this world. Because as long as one is in this world, one is always afflicted. This is what Shastra says, tapatraya. Adhyatmika, adibhaudika, adidaivika. There is no way one can overcome the forces of these three tapas. Adhyatmika, self-inflicted miseries. No, Adi Devika and Adi Bhautika are triggered externally. Adi Devika are external forces. Adi Bhautika are miseries caused by other living entities. Adi Devika, miseries caused by nature. But Adi Devika, self-inflicted miseries. Our own mind causes miseries and we undergo these miseries which are self-inflicted. Now, as long as one is in samsara, these three forces of these three tapas are so very formidable. And because of that, I'm always in fear. If there is one thing that you can grant me, hey Kardama, grant me abhaya, grant me fearlessness. What should I do? Kardama smiles. Now Kardama realizes. So finally, Devahuti also has understood that all that pleasure that they experienced so far is only a temporary phase. And Kardama also now is preparing for the next phase of his life. So Devahuti further tells Kardama, Etavatalam kalena vatikrantena me prabho. This is a very profound statement she makes. It needs a real courage to make this statement. She says, hey Kardama, I now realize that I have wasted my life. So many years have gone completely wasted. Why? She says, Indriyartha prasangena parityakta paratmanaha. By indulging in sense pleasures alone, all these years, by indulging in only sense pleasures, I have neglected completely to cultivate the knowledge of Bhagavan. I've completely neglected. She parityakta paratmanaha. Completely wasted the opportunity of not doing anything to cultivate knowledge of reality. All these years have gone by. I have only indulged myself completely, being drawn towards only worldly objects, experiencing the world and worldly pleasures. I have completely wasted my time. This is a very important, you can call this as an inflection point that should come in everyone's lives. Now, when we look at the way we lead our lives and the various activities that we do, we can categorize them into four, if you can make a 4 quadrants, if you make a quadrant, with x-axis and y-axis, I just want you to visualize this. X-axis and y-axis with a quadrant made. One is an axis of what is urgent and the other is an axis of what is important. urgent and important. Activities which are urgent and activities which are important. Now make 4 quadrants. Low, high. High urgency, low urgency. High importance, low importance. If we analyze all our activities in our lives, we spend most of our time wasting by indulging in activities which are not important, not urgent. Not important, not urgent. Good example is our indulgence with social media. Not important, not urgent. None of the messages that we forward immediately the moment we receive to 100 other people. When a very important message comes, we do not forward it. Unfortunately, if you look at social media, all important messages hardly have any likes. All unimportant messages have thousands of likes. Why? Because we are drawn always towards indulging in activities which are not important, not urgent. And then we get deceived by activities which are not important but seemingly urgent. Not important but seemingly urgent. We get deceived. As an example, we are just about to start to come to satsang, and then a phone call comes from a friend who wants to engage in a light banter. Now that phone call definitely is not urgent, but it may seem urgent. We may end up wasting time. Not important, seemingly urgent. We get deceived. And then we keep firefighting and doing activities which are important and urgent. But ideally, we shouldn't be doing. Why? If we focus on activities which are important and not urgent, we would never get to firefight indulging in activities which are urgent and important. What are those activities which need focus? Our well-being, our holistic well-being. They seem to be not urgent. They're definitely important. The problem is we keep procrastinating. Gita can wait. Not very urgent. What is there if I study it today or if I study it 1 month later? Or best thing is, let me retire. I'll have all the time. Let it wait. Seemingly not urgent. What happens when holistic well-being is completely neglected and everything postponed? We keep firefighting in life. Everything which is urgent and important is only the result of postponing activities which help us to progress holistically. Physical, mental, intellectual, and spiritual. All these are very important, may seem not very urgent, but in reality they are urgent. Here, Devahuti is basically pointing, I have not been focusing on the most important activities and thought they are not urgent. Now she has to firefight because now she suddenly is facing the world and she knows that time has elapsed and she is gripped with fear. Parityatta paratmanaha. How do I now cultivate knowledge? After 60 years, if one starts to study Gita, it's not going to help. Because it is so challenging to first understand and then practice. What is the point of postponing cultivation of spiritual knowledge to a time when the faculties also start to deteriorate? So here she is suddenly worried. Now I have postponed cultivation of knowledge. How do I now cultivate that knowledge which is going to bring fearlessness in me? And she is really worried because now she also sees Kardama is preparing also to go on Vanaprastha. Now then Devahuti further addresses Kardama. She says, Saham Bhagavato Nyunam Vanchita Mayaya Dridam, she says. Vanchita Mayaya Dridam. Kardama asks her, what do you think, He Devahuti, is a result for you to avoid, neglect cultivation of knowledge? She says, Saham Bhagavato Nyunam. She says, in spite of being with you all the time, hey Kardama, I have spent all the time with you. You, hey Kardama, you are the Prajapati, you are the very embodiment of all knowledge. And I have failed to gain anything from you. Why? Because Vanchita Mayaya Dridham, she says. Vanchita Mayaya Dridham Yatvam Vimuktidam Prapya Na Mukshaye Bandhanat. I have been deceived, cheated by Maya, this Prakriti, and in that process, I did not even desire for liberation. Now, this is where the fundamental problem is. Why will anyone seek liberation if they do not even understand what is liberation? Now, when one recognizes that one is a slave, then one starts fighting for freedom. This is quite natural. Now, when the whole community recognizes that they are enslaved, then sooner or later, the community together will start fighting for freedom. And we have seen this, all the so-called freedom movements that happen all around the world. Now, imagine there is a community which is enslaved and which has no interaction with the outside world. Therefore, they do not know what true freedom is all about. And they accept slavery as their natural state. With no knowledge of what true freedom is all about. They accept slavery as a natural state. Now, this is what is material existence. Accepting slavery as our natural state. The false notion of freedom. In spite of being slaves, we all think we are free. We all talk about freedom. But this is false notion of freedom. It is this false notion of freedom which leads to the lack of awareness of what true freedom is, and which is the cause of bondage. The cause of bondage is basically this false notion of freedom. Why? Because as long as I have this false notion that I am free, I will not seek liberation. I'm eternally bound as a slave to this world. And therefore, she says, Vanchita Mayaya Dridam, cheated by this Prakriti, I did not even aspire for liberation. I did not even understand what true liberation is all about. And I have wasted all the time, Devahuti says. Then Kardama consoles her. Devahuti, after all, you are also not an ordinary person. You should realize that you are also very blessed. And let me tell you why. Swatayaradito Shuklaha Vidanman Mamakam Yashaha. Shuklaha, here is Bhagavan. Sooner or later, we are going to have a son who is not only going to spread my fame, he is taking this avatara for only one reason. Chetate Hridaya Granthim Audarya Brahma Bhavanaha. Our son, he says, you should pray to Bhagavan, who is going to take birth as your son sooner or later, He Devahuti. You are going to be so very blessed that you are the chosen one. And Bhagavan is going to take the avatara for only one purpose. Chetate Hridaya Granthim. In order to cut the knots in not only your heart, but everyone's heart. Chetate Hridaya Granthim Audaryo Brahma Bhavanaha. He is going to teach you. As your son, he is going to teach you and bestow the ultimate knowledge, the knowledge of reality to you. Chetate Hridaya Granthim. A very profound statement Kardama makes to Devahuti. He is the one who is going to cut, who is going to ensure that all the knots, Vidyate Hridaya Granthi, Chidyante Samasamshayaha. Asmin Drishte Paravare, the Upanishad say. Now, Hridaya Granthi, The granthi here, the knots are the impurities caused because of the attachments. Purusha is knotted, tied forever with Prakriti. The knots are so very strong. These knots are the knots of attachment to the world of matter. The impurities caused by these knots, and not very easy. These impurities cannot be easily dissolved. So, Chetate Hriday Granthi, he will come in order to ensure that all these knots are cut, all these impurities are dissolved. All the misgivings, all the doubts that you have are all addressed, because it is very important. Or most often we ask this question, why not? Why not? Why not? In the context that, why am I not the chosen one? Somebody else seems to be enjoying life. Why am I not the chosen one? Why not? We say, the actual question we should ask is, why not? KNOT. Why not is, why these knots? What are these? Why the knots in within us? The knots, the impurities due to the attachment. The reason is basically the reason. There are two reasons. The two reasons are the naughty mind and the naughty mind. The first is naughty mind, N-A-U-G-H-T-Y. Mind is naughty. And because it's naughty, it's disobedient, it also becomes naughty, K-N-O-T-T-Y. Mind is disobedient by design. It is naughty, like a naughty child, always misbehaves, keeps going in the wrong direction all the time. It gets the allurement of the external world is so much that the mind is always in a state of distraction, behaving like, not just like a naughty child, but behaving like a naughty monkey. So this naughty, N-A-U-G-H-T, naughty mind becomes a naughty mind, K-N-O-T-T-Y. Naughty mind, twisted mind, we can say. Twisted. It starts completely, the intellect is so very tainted, perverse thinking starts to happen. We don't get the right answers to any question. When with this naughty mind, when one starts to seek questions to profound answers to profound questions in life, when we start looking at what is life, what is the purpose of life, why all this happening, what is samsara, who is God? No, when the mind is naughty, even we start questioning the very existence of God. It is like this, trying to find answers to these questions with a naughty mind is like a monkey trying to understand quantum physics. This naughty, the knots in the mind need to dissolve. They need to be cut. The intellect needs to be untainted. Without that, there is no way to understand. Understanding is always tainted. And therefore, here, Bhagavan's avatara as Kapila, that is why Kapila avatara, Kapila Sandesha is so very glorious. His discourse to his very mother on Sankhya, philosophy of Sankhya, is so very revealing. That's why Kardama says, Chetate Hridaya Grantihi. The purpose of his avatara is to cut all the knots, to address all your misgivings, to clarify all your doubts. Because if we do not have the clarity in our mind, doubts can never get clarified. If the mind is filled with impurities, very, very difficult. So therefore, he says, that is the purpose. He says, Audarya Brahma Bhavanaha. And his avatara is to teach you. And you are so very blessed that Bhagavan is going to engage in a one-to-one discourse with you. How blessed you are. Not only he is taking avatara as your son, but you also have the opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with Bhagavan, not on any other topic, but the very quintessential topic of what is this life and what is liberation and the means to this liberation. And therefore, you should be prepared to listen. and he is going to clarify everything. All your doubts, all your misgivings will be addressed. No, this is what Krishna says. Mayasakta manapartha yogam yunjan madashrayah asamshayam samagram mam yatagnyasasi tat shrunu, he says. Hey, Arjuna, shrunu is asking Arjuna to listen. Shrunu, maya asakta manaha. When the mind is attached only to me, when the mind is attached to Krishna, asakta manaha, maya asakta manaha partha, yogam yunjan madashrayah, yogam yunjan. You can cultivate bhakti yoga, and through the process of bhakti, you can then take refuge in me, madashrayah. Asamshayam, when you take refuge in me, asamshayam samagram, all your doubts will vanish, will dissolve, all your misgivings will completely vanish. Yatagnyasya tat shrunu. Therefore, listen. Now, interestingly, Shravana here is basically for knowing the path. Shravana is showing the path. Shravana can also be the very path. Shravana can not only show the path, Shravana can be the very path. The same shloka, Maya Sakta Manah Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashrayah Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatagnyasya tat shrunu. Now, if we reverse the order, then we get to see how Shravana becomes the very path. Not just it shows the path. When we reverse the order, Shrunu, when you listen, Nyasyasi Samagram, by constantly listening, you get to know Krishna in totality. When you know Krishna in totality, then Ashrayaha, he becomes your shelter. And when he becomes your shelter, all your doubts will automatically be cleared. When all your doubts are automatically cleared, Yogam Yunjan, you then engage without any impediments to bhakti. You can engage in blissful servitude, devotional service to Bhagavan, and then you attain the goal of all goals, Asakta Manaha. Asakta Manaha is that mind which is ever united with Krishna, ever connected with him all the time. The state of perfection, which is the goal. And here, Shravana is the path. So Shravana can show the path. Shravana is the very path. And Kardama here is saying, hey, Devahuti, you are very blessed, because soon you will have the opportunity to engage in Shravana from none other than Bhagavan himself. As Kapila, he is going to teach you the quintessential philosophy of Sankhya. And as promised and as assured, Bhagavan takes the next avatar as Kapila, the glorious Kapila avatara, son of Devahuti. And now after Bhagavan taking avatara, now Kardama is preparing. Kardama now knows that time has come. Now Devahuti is in safe hands. Bhagavan himself is going to take care of Devahuti. Kardama is preparing. So therefore Kardama prostrates to his very own son. Kardama knows he is none other than Narayana himself. And he says, I shall now take leave, and I am ready to go to Vanaprastha. And Bhagavan then once tells Kardama, Etanme janmalokesmin mumukshunam durashayat prasankhyanaya tattvanam sammatayatma darshane. Hey Kardama, let me assure you why I have taken this avatara. This is to enable people to realize the nature of reality by gaining freedom from material entanglement. Mumukshunam durashayat. Freedom from material entanglement. One of the reasons for the avatar of Kapila is to enable this freedom from worldly entanglement. The worldly entanglement is a product of worldly enjoyment. Worldly enjoyment leads to worldly entanglement. This is like how a fish gets trapped through a bait. A fish gets trapped through a bait. Now, one cannot blame the fish to go after food. Now, going after the food is not the problem. The fish going after food is not, after all, it is a necessity. But instead of going after the food which is available in the vast ocean, the fish chooses to go after the food which comes to it in the form of a bait and gets trapped. Similarly, going after pleasure is not a problem. After all, we are all innately pleasure seeking. We all long for happiness. So going after pleasure is not the problem, but going after pleasure, going after worldly objects instead of going after Krishna. This is the problem. The bait is like, the fish bait is like the worldly object. There is an ocean waiting for the fish. What is the small bait compared to the ocean? There is an ocean of happiness waiting for us. Krishna, who is the source of all happiness, is waiting, and we choose to go after the fish bait, the worldly objects. So therefore, worldly enjoyment will result in worldly entanglement. Here, Kapila says, the purpose of my avatara is to give Sankhya philosophy, which will demystify this world. One will start to look through these worldly objects and understand the underlying reality. And only when one starts to understand the underlying reality, one will stop chasing worldly objects as the source of happiness, because they are not the sources of happiness. And therefore, Kardama is now assured. Bhagavan says, do not worry, I have taken the avatara, and therefore you can leave. You can be at peace, and I will take care of Mother Devahuti. Kapilas Tattva Sankhyaata Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Jataswayam Ajasakshat Atma Pragyaptaye Nrinam. This is the purpose of Kapila's avatara. Tattva Sankhyaata, enumerator of Sankhya philosophy. What we are going to see is, we will deep dive into the philosophy of Kapila, where he goes at length addressing several questions. The beauty of Kapila Sandesha is its relevance in today's world. It's relevant because Devahuti has the same questions that we all have. She says, I'm very disturbed. I'm disturbed because I'm unable to reconcile to the fact that I'm subject to afflictions all the time, physical and mental. All the time, whether I like it or not, I have to undergo bodily afflictions. Disease, aging, death, all kinds of bodily and mental afflictions. How can I manage, overcome, come out of these afflictions? Is there a way out? How do I not be in a state of disturbance all the time? How do I be freed of material attachments? So this is a question that all of us have. How do I free myself from material attachments? Now, Kapila addresses this in very simple terms. He says, Tayete sadavas sadhvi sarva sanga vivajjitaah sangasteshu atate pratyaah sanga dosha harahite, he says. We will see various tips that Kapila gives. We will conclude with this one simple tip that Kapila gives here. The question is, how to be freed of material attachments. Kapila says, the only way to be freed of material attachments is sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha, attached to sadhu here is devotees. Devotees of Bhagavan. When one attaches oneself to a bhakta, a devotee of Bhagavan, automatically one will be freed from the forces of material attachment, he says. Now, Devahuti has this question. Now, how do these bhaktas of Bhagavan, how are they able to be in a state of detachment? How is it possible that they too live in the same world? They too are subject to the miseries, the tapatrayas. How is it possible, she says? Kapila gives a very simple example. He says, let me give an analogy. a cat, when it has to transport a kitten, the cat transports a kitten by holding it with its mouth. The same cat, when it starts hunting for food, it hunts a rat, and the bounty, the rat, when it carries it, the rat, it also carries it by holding it with its mouth. Now, both the kitten and the rat are being carried by the cat with its mouth. But the kitten is in a state of comfort, whereas the rat is gripped with fear. Their mental conditions are so very different. It's the same cat, holding them by the same mouth, but the mental conditions are so very different. Similarly, a bhakta, one who has realized Bhagavan and is connected with him, even though he is in this material condition, existing in this very world, he is in a comfort zone, he is in a comfortable state, knowing that Bhagavan is taking care of his well-being. Whereas somebody who has not realized Bhagavan, who has not become a bhakta, is like a rat, always in fear, and always wanting to find a way out of fear. And Kapila says, Devahuti, do not worry. Do not worry. Fear is not your natural state. Fear is very unnatural to you. And let me therefore explain to you the Sankhya philosophy, which shall address the root of all your ills. Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yogena Yoginaha Sevaya Padamulam Me Pravishyanti Akuto Bhayam. He says, this is the very essence of Kapila Sandesha. Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yogena Yoginaha Kshemaya Padamulam Me Pravishyanti Akuto Bhayam. Pravishyanti, you will attain, you will reach my abode without any fear, here and hereafter, by acquiring jnana, practicing vairagya, and cultivating bhakti, kshemaya padam moolam me, taking refuge in Bhagavan's lotus feet. Now, what is this jnana that Kapila is talking about? How to cultivate vairagya, what kind of bhakti marga Kapila is talking about, and how to cultivate this knowledge that Devahuti says she has neglected. How do we demystify this whole world, deconstruct it in order to pierce through the wheel of Prakriti and understand reality, is what Kapila Sandesha is all about. We will deep dive into Kapilopadesha, the conversation between Kapila and his mother Devahuti in the coming weeks. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.